What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and I'm going to review WWE SmackDown, and this is for 7/23/2018. No, 7/24. 23 was Raw. I gotta say that I talked during the Raw review how the whole product for WWE has just gone downhill. They have a severe lack of talent at the moment, and they're using guys that, like, a couple of years ago, I think some of the top guys would have been mid-card guys in, like, the Attitude Era, and when wrestling was really good. And now it seems like the guys now would have been, like, the jobbers back then. Like, the mid-card guys now are just a joke, honestly, for the most part. And you have very little real talent that can sell this as a main product anymore. John Cena's barely there. Triple H doesn't wrestle anymore. Undertaker once every blue moon. And that's the last of really the best era in wrestling. And this influx has just gotten gradually worse and worse and worse. And I don't know what that's all about, but they got to get a turnaround because this product has been garbage. Like, Raw for the last several weeks has been trash. Their last pay-per-view was trash. And from a fan's perspective, it's like, I'm not going to put my money into this because it's not worth paying for. And I don't want to give them ratings because it's not worth them getting the ratings. If enough people stood up and did that, they might finally get the message that, wow, we're really screwing something up here. Unfortunately, along with the product, it seems like people have gotten a little bit dumber and a little bit more of accepting of just terrible product. And I honestly don't know how WWE has any fans. That's a little bit of a tirade to start, but let me get into the review itself for SmackDown, and it'll kind of explain why I feel the way I do. So you start out with this nonsensical opening. You have Miz and Maurice pull up in a limo, and that's it. That was it. There was literally no point to it. Randy Orton has a promo opener for the show. He's in ring, and he's giving this promo, and he's doing his heel shtick. And Randy Orton has always been a better heel than a face. And he's one of the old timers, so he can still cut a promo. And even then, I don't know that I've ever really gravitated toward Orton's style. I like him as a heel. I like when he's got this whole diabolical gimmick going on. But he's never really sold me. He's good in the ring. But again, it's one of these guys that, like, he's at a point where he's so rehearsed at everything he does, and he's got, a few specific moves that he has to pull off every time, and it becomes a little bit monotonous when you're watching. It's just repeat, and there's nothing new, so eventually everything's going to get stale. Now, I do, like I said, love that he turned heel. That gives him something a little bit more fresh for him, but now he's got to follow up with something new to look at in the ring, too. That's my personal opinion. Now, your first match after that promo is Rusev with Lana versus Andrade Cien Almas versus Zelina Vega. And it's a pretty good match for what it is. You have the dynamic of both girls on the outside for each guy, and they're eventually going to get into it, and of course they do. And then Aiden English rushes down, and he accidentally gets shoved into Lana, knocks Lana on her butt. Rusev is paying attention to that, gets beat, and so they're definitely building a split between Aiden English and Rusev, it looks like. After that, you got a backstage R-Truth Ty Dillinger bit, and they've been pretty funny in the last couple of weeks with their gimmicks, and this one was pretty cool too. But you find out R-Truth is coming back from his hiatus, and he's going to be in the ring with Samoa Joe. And then you cut to commercial, come back, there's a backstage Aiden English, Lana Rusev segment where clearly there's a lot of friction, there's, arguing and blaming going on. So, again, just reiterating, it looks like they're building up to the split between English and Rusev. And then you get the match with R-Truth and Samoa Joe. Well, you kind of know where this is going to go because R-Truth has been gone for quite a while, and Samoa Joe is absolutely beast, and I think they're still trying to build him up as beast. And that's kind of what this was. It was virtually a squash match. Samoa Joe picks up the win. Not a big deal. you get an Asuka interview backstage, and I feel so bad for Asuka because she's got such good charisma and she's really good in the ring, but when she talks, man, I can barely understand what she's saying, and I'm sure she's struggling with it and trying to, cutting promos is half the business, honestly. And if you can't connect with your fans, I've said before, that was my big fear with her and Shinsuke, and my fears have proven to, come to fruition. They're both struggling when it comes to promos, and therefore struggling to get over with the crowd. Now, there's a lot of wrestling fans that really appreciate Asuka's in-ring work. I'm one of them. I really like Asuka's in-ring work. I honestly like her in-ring work better than I like Shinsuke's. I do not gravitate towards Shinsuke in the ring, honestly. He's good, but there's something about his style that I just can't get hooked into. So she tries to cut a promo, and like I said, I feel bad for her. But then it goes into Asuka versus Billie Kay, the Iconics. Before the match starts, cuts a terrible promo, iPhone promo, and it just, the typical annoying heel gimmick, which I can't stand. So the match itself, Billie was honestly just all over the place, out of place, very awkward. Thankfully, Asuka picks up the win, and there's not much else to say about it. Then you get a Shinsuke Nakamura iPhone promo, a little bit more intelligible than the last one, but the big thing here is he's talking about Jeff Hardy's problems with Randy Orton, so it's basically like Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton are now the feud, and Nakamura is just resigned to, the guy throwing jabs at Jeff Hardy. So not a good spot for Nakamura. Then Paige, AJ Styles have a SummerSlam announcement. They start talking about who his opponent's going to be. James Ellsworth comes down, says he beat AJ 3 times and he deserves a spot. Paige steps out of the ring, starts talking to Ellsworth, and fires him. I was really happy to see that because I can't stand Ellsworth. He brings nothing to the table. And I hated seeing him come back during the Carmella-Asuka match. I don't like Carmella. We are all very well aware of this. And Ellsworth is just a blight on the product, honestly. And so I was really glad to see him go. While he was being fired and Paige was outside, Samoa Joe comes from behind, puts AJ in the coquina clutch, and signs the contract for the SummerSlam match. So it looks like it's going to be Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles. I'm really happy about that because I like both guys. They're both very talented, especially in the ring. Samoa Joe can cut a hellacious promo at times too. Really, really good. So I really like that they're doing that. Then you get a Paige Carmella backstage bit where, Carmella is bitching about Ellsworth being gone, blah, blah, blah. Paige informs her that her match with Becky Lynch, if Becky wins, she gets a shot at SummerSlam for the title. So you follow up with the Becky Lynch-Carmella match after a break, and I will say, to be objective, that it looked like Carmella was a little better this time in the ring than I've seen her before. And, I pray to God that's a trend. I'm not going to knock anybody if they're actually doing good or bettering themselves, but so far I haven't seen anything from Carmella. So today she was certainly not great, but at least it looked decent. It looked okay. Becky Lynch does get her in the disarmer though and picks up the win. So it's Becky Lynch and Carmella at SummerSlam. And here's my thought on that. I really like Becky Lynch. I really do. I think she's very talented in the ring. But there are times where she can be awkward. There are times when she can be out of place. To have Carmella go over Charlotte Flair twice, go over Asuka twice, and then have Becky Lynch beat her, I don't know that that's the route I would have taken. And it's definitely not a knock to Becky Lynch. She's very good. I would be happy to see her as champion. She's definitely a hell of a lot more deserving than Carmella. But to have Carmella just go over literally two of the best performers in the women's division, I don't know that's the route I would have taken. Then you get a really short Bludgeon Brothers promo. They're the champs, and you got this tag tourney to find out who's going to be the contenders, and that starts with New Day versus Sanity. You got Usos on commentary. It's a decent match for what it is. Nothing really stood out, but I will say that usually anything New Day and Usos or New Day and Sanity does is pretty good. So, yeah, it was entertaining enough to keep me interested. New Day picks up the win, then the bar come down, and they're on the ramp. They give a promo saying that they're back and they're going to be in this. And there you go. Then you have Paige, Miz and Maurice, and Sin Cara all in this really weird backstage segment. They're talking about, taking the baby to the ring, and Sin Cara volunteering to be babysitter. Miz is like, babysitters don't have masks. It was just a really weird segment, honestly. Trying to be funny, but kind of failing. Which WWE has done a lot of lately. Like, their comedy just needs to go away. Like, whoever's writing this shit, I don't know, but they need to like double check and say, hey, is this funny? To like 200 people, because it's not. So you get this Miz and Maurice segment in the ring. Now this is how they close the show, and I thought it was a really weird way to close the show. Miz and Maurice, they're doing this like promo for their show, Miz and Mrs. And Miz, of course, starts knocking Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan comes down, steps in the ring, and of course, the Miz has had this baby sling on his chest the whole time with his baby in there, and picks up the baby and throws it at Daniel Bryan. It was a fake baby, and then Miz kind of beats down Daniel Bryan, and that's where they leave off the show. And I thought that was just a really odd way to leave off. The promo at the beginning with Randy Orton was kind of long-winded, and I think it lost me there. And I just felt like that was a really awkward way to end SmackDown. I honestly, at that point, I think I would have ended with Samoa Joe signing the contract for AJ Styles. I think that would have been a much, much better way to end the show, because it's the championship match, first of all, and it's got two really big stars that are, bound to have a great match. And it was a cool way that they did it, honestly, with Samoa Joe coming up, not the Ellsworth part. I did not like that. And I don't know, man, like, it felt very weird to me. And it was better than Raw. Raw was a 0 out of 10, and it has been for a few weeks now. Raw has just sucked completely, terribly. SmackDown has usually been better, and a little bit more than marginally better, but this was just marginally better than Raw. I would say probably a 3 out of 10, honestly. Rusev, Andrade was alright. Other than that, I mean, you really didn't have any stakes other than the Samoa Joe thing where he signed the contract, and Becky Lynch versus Carmella. And I can't stand Carmella. I don't want to see her in any fucking title picture or any main event match, period, ever. Like, she's already ruined several main event, women's championship matches. So I'm not interested in that, because Carmella has already overstayed her welcome as a champion. I thought it was bullshit that they gave her a championship to begin with, honestly. I was cringing every fucking time I seen her come down, and I still am. So that's where we're at, 3 out of 10. I have literally no interest in SummerSlam at this point. One of the big four, as I stated for Raw, you are weeks out from one of the big four pay-per-views for WWE. You got Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania. Those are your big four. And SummerSlam, really, I have no vested interest in. You've got Roman Reigns going up against Brock fucking Lesnar. I don't care about that match at all. If Roman Reigns wins, then I damn sure am not getting vested into the product again, because it's the same bullshit we've been trying to avoid forever. And they just keep going back to it. But at the same time, again, I think it goes back to they have such a lack of talent right now that they legitimately see Roman Reigns as a star. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I don't like it. And here's the thing. I don't think that Roman Reigns sucks in the ring. I think he can put on an entertaining match at times. At times. Not even always. But as a promo worker, he sucks. The guy just sucks on a mic. I can talk better than he does. And I just don't get why he is just forced into our faces every fucking main event picture. Like, this guy has, I don't know, man. I just don't understand why they keep putting him in the main events. Why they see him as the top guy when the guy can't even fucking talk on a microphone. literally cannot. I don't get it. So anyway, that's my review on SmackDown and also some thoughts on WWE as a whole right now. And again, I always say that I talk as a fan. I'm not trying to be a mark here. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody else. I don't have an inside track to the business. I just go by what I see in the ring. What I see from like what it used to be when I was watching in the 80s, watched it grow into the Attitude Era, and then since then it has just been a steady, systematic decline. And that's where I'm at. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. If you agree, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation out.